Welcome to Guide to Feeling Better. I'm Jill King, Associate Director of Mental Health America of Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio. This show discusses practical information for staying well and recovering from mental and substance use disorders. Today we're going to be talking about building resiliency. Here to share with me and discuss more about this topic is Susan Ferris, a board member of NAMI Kentucky and NAMI Northern Kentucky. Susan is a NAMI teacher and a support group facilitator as well. Welcome, Susan. Our Guide to Feeling Better show dispels myths and misconceptions about the ways in which we can and do recover from mental health and substance use disorders. So, what myth are we going to bust today?
Well, the myth is only people with mental illness have to focus on ways to achieve good mental health.
So what about the fact?
Well, the fact is everyone benefits from learning and practicing wellness techniques in order to maintain good mental health.
Great. So why is Mental Health America and NAMI up here today discussing this topic? Why don't you share a little bit about what NAMI is?
NAMI is, well, first of all, NAMI is an acronym for National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are the largest grassroots organization dedicated to helping those with mental illness and also their families and caregivers. We are in all 50 states, and locally in the state of Kentucky, we actually have 20 affiliates throughout the state.
Great. So Mental Health America, it's Mental Health America. There's a national organization, much like NAMI. Actually, on the national level and local level, we're really close partners. We also have affiliates in every state and multiple affiliates in different states. So our mission is really education, advocacy, and service. So we tend to collaborate with a lot of people to build and strengthen community initiatives and advocate on a state level, which NAMI and Mental Health America were down there just recently advocating for some new legislation.
Yes.
In Frankfurt. And we do that in Ohio as well, since we're in Southwest Ohio. And then as far as service at our organization, we have payee program, free counseling program. We really tend to fill in some gaps and provide also a lot of support group facilitating structure for the community. We have a huge resource directory with all kinds of services. So both of our organizations, though, are always thinking about improving people's wellness, right?
Yes, definitely. NAMI basically has classes that we offer to the public, and we also offer support groups. All our classes and support groups are free. Perhaps our most popular class is called Family to Family, excuse me, and it's a 12-session class. Lately we've been meeting in a 6-week time span where we meet twice a week for the 6 weeks, and this the Family to Family is offered to family members and caregivers of those who have mental illness. And we help to educate, support, and teach these family members how to advocate for their loved ones, how to live on a day-to-day basis with them, give them tips for dealing with crises, and problem solving. We also have a class that's similar. It's called Basics, and that class is geared towards parents and caregivers of children who are dealing with mental illness. So it's a little bit different when you have a child involved with mental illness. Our support groups, we have support groups, friends and family support groups, for obviously friends and family of the same loved ones. And then we also have support group for those who do live with mental illness also.
Yeah, and I always advocate for family members in particular to build their own support, because having understanding in family members is critical to
Yes.
people's wellness. And we also have one of our depression support groups that we facilitate is has been running for years, but it's really helpful for individuals as well, and we also facilitate an anxiety group as well. So it's we do good things, but today we're going to kind of share, I always say, like the secrets to wellness, things that the doctors don't necessarily share, but things that over the years I've seen people recover really well, and that's the thing. So what are people doing that are recovering and staying well? And May is Mental Health Month, so we're going to stay positive with this discussion today.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about how people flourish, the research-based facts on what it takes to flourish, and then we're also going to be talking about the 10 evidence-based ways to stay well and recover from mental illness and substance use. So with that, let's take a break, and we'll be back to share more information.
Hey everybody, it's gonna be just plain hot out there.
In 70-degree weather, it takes only minutes for the inside of your car to heat up like an oven. At 104 degrees, heat stroke begins, followed by loss of consciousness. Every year, almost 40 children die of heat stroke after being forgotten in a vehicle. A simple change in daily routine is often the cause. Look before you lock. Brought to you by Kids in Cars.
Hi, welcome back to Guide to Feeling Better. I'm Jill King, the Associate Director of Mental Health America, and this is
Susan Ferris with NAMI Northern Kentucky.
And we're back to, at least in this segment, talk about flourishing and what it takes for people to flourish. And then in the next segment, we'll talk about some evidence-based ways to help people stay well and recover. So, I'll go over the list of kind of the components of flourishing, and then we'll interject how each of our agencies are really providing opportunities, I guess, for people to flourish. I think that'll work, right?
I think it will.
Good. So I was really fortunate. We get to go to national conferences. I think you probably do too.
Yes,
and hear some wonderful speakers. And so one year at the Mental Health America conference, I got to hear Corey Keyes, who's a doctor and a professor at Emory University outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And he decided that he was going to study and research, and his question was, how can two people grow up in the same family and turn out so differently? As I remember him, he looked like the father on the Brady Bunch, just kind of that demeanor.
Yes.
And his sister has severe schizophrenia, where she's hearing sick a lot and hearing voices and delusional and things like that, and they both grew up in the same environment. So as far as research goes, he interviewed thousands of people, surveyed, did focus groups, and so the things that he came up with so we've added kind of a dimension of, languish versus flourish is what he called it. So happy with life. In order to flourish, we need to be happy with life.
That makes sense.
Easier said than done, though,
Yes,
right?
Yes, that's true.
Interested in life. I know I always think of my grandma with this one because I would call her for an attitude adjustment. And she'd always have something interesting to talk about that you wouldn't even suspect. You know, she'd read an article or something, but interest in life comes to mind with her. Satisfaction in life. Again, I think feeling satisfied sounds easy, but maybe isn't so easy. Contributing to society. You know, I think everybody says volunteer, you'll feel better. And I think there's something to choosing the right volunteer opportunity, right?
Definitely. I think that that's key. And like you say, everybody says, oh, volunteer if you have the time, it'll do you some good. But you really have to find what you're, as you said, interested in life, what your interests are, and where you want to put your efforts and your time. But it can make a big difference.
Well, and at NAMI and Mental Health America, I mean, we wouldn't survive or be able to help nearly the number of people if we didn't have volunteers.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But I've had a couple people where they really try really hard to help other people because they've been helped with mental health or substance use, and it just kind of keeps them in that, I don't know, it kind of drags them down. And so I've seen people go out and volunteer at a nature park or foster dogs and be so much happier.
Well, at NAMI too, we're mostly we're a nonprofit, and we get by on volunteers, and most our volunteers are people like me who have a loved one, a family member who lives with mental illness, but then we also have people who live with mental illness who help us out also. And frequently they get roped into it initially. But then, like you say, they find that they enjoy helping other people, they enjoy contributing, and that's what makes our group successful, the fact that we do have so many volunteers. Mm-hmm. And once you get in there, you kind of get hooked, as I have.
Right.
And I invest more and more time, but I put a lot into it, but I get so much more out of it. And so
well, when you see people get better,
yes.
I think that just, you know, we do have people that relapse and don't feel so well, but there's so many people that do get better, and it's inspirational.
It is, because I do meet people who have lived with serious mental illness, and they're doing very well. They've become productive. They're getting along well in society, and that helps to give me hope, and as you say, serve as an inspiration. It always does you well to see someone else who has taken the challenge and done well for themselves. Yes.
Well, and I think what we're talking about today, I refer to it as skill building. Most of us were taught what survival mechanisms, you know, our parents taught us the best that they knew to teach us, but so much research and information has guided the way to the skills that we need to stay well and to recover. So what else do we have? There's a lot on the Flourish list. There's a lot related to social integration. People with mental illness and substance use haven't necessarily learned to deal or have positive social relationships. There's some social anxiety around that. So listed by Dr. Keyes is social integration, social growth potential, accepting others for who they are, social interest. What else is on the list? Self-acceptance, environmental mastery, positive relations with others. So a lot has to do with learning skills and about different personalities and how to deal with personalities.
Yes.
And then the last on the list is autonomy, self-sufficiency, and feeling like you have a purpose in life.
Yes. Yes, all very important.
So these are the things we need to be teaching our kids, right?
Yes, these are the things, and it becomes more difficult if you are someone who's living with mental illness, because if you're living with depression, if you're living with anxiety, it's one thing to go out and say, well, go out and join a group or find something you like. But what if? What if you're in a deep state of depression? What if you have a lot of anxiety around other people? So whereas these skills are important for everyone and important for everyone to flourish, it becomes so much more difficult when you're dealing with mental illness.
Well, let's come back and talk more about some of the ways that we know people have successfully used flourishing.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, and we'll be right back.
You may see yourself as a lot of things, but you will always be his dad. Please take control of your life and go to AA.
Hi, welcome back to Guide to Feeling Better. We're here talking together about building resiliency. May is Mental Health Month, so we're trying to stay focused on being positive and what it helps, how people recover and
Have good
do
mental
well.
health. Yes. Yes.
And stay well, so that you don't get sick. So we were first talking about Dr. Keyes with Emory University did a research study and came up with ways to flourish. And so now we'd like to talk a little bit more about flourishing.
Okay.
So what kind of programs does NAMI have that address, I know we were talking about the rural need for social integration, healthy relationships. So what do you have to offer?
Well, for the person who is living with mental illness, excuse me, NAMI has two programs in particular that would help these folks. One is it's called Connection. It's a support group, and it's very helpful because it's led by trained facilitators who they themselves live with mental illness. And because they live with mental illness and they lead these groups, they encourage others to come who are obviously also dealing with mental illness, and they give support to one another. They're obviously interacting with one another. They help inform each other. When you go for support, there's an acceptance of each other's problems, and it helps them. For people who are living with depression or anxiety, it helps them to see that they can interact with others. They can be successful with this. And I think that it's a great confidence builder. We also have a program that's called In Our Own Voice. It's IOOV, In Our Own Voice. And this is where people who live with mental illness get trained to do presentations where they talk about their own experience with their mental health issue. And once they're trained, they can go out into the community and talk to different groups who may be interested. So they may go to service groups, religious groups, educational groups, and they go out and, as I say, they talk about their own experience with their mental illness, and it also accompanies a video. And so, and the video is with people who are living with mental illness. And so they'll talk about the initial stages, when they were first diagnosed, how they reacted. They'll talk about their life throughout. And it's very positive. It's really all about recovery. But it's not sugar-coated. They do talk about the tough times that they have. They talk about the challenges that they may still have. But to be able to go out and tell someone about your own mental health problems does take a certain amount of courage, and it does help these folks immensely to be able to give something back. They are contributing to society. They're certainly interacting with other people. They always have a question and answer period at the end of their presentations. And these presentations take about 90 minutes. So this is a lot to do, and it's a lot to give back. But they do very well, and the folks who do this end up saying that it helps them tremendously to be able to go out
Sure.
and talk.
Well, peer support across the nation is just booming. I believe that, you know, it was with diabetes and cancer that really, in the health industry, we realized that people wanted to talk to other people that have had similar experiences. And so peer support now is available not in every town, but I would say across several programs across the nation, within each state. I think probably every state in the country has some peer leadership going on. I know in the state of Kentucky and in Ohio, there's each state has its own certification training. So we've been, Mental Health America, we've been taking a leadership role in Ohio as well as in Kentucky as far as being able to teach or be a facilitator of those trainings. And they're 30 to 40-hour trainings where people get trained to be peer specialists. And then there's some continuing education that's required. So I compare it to, you know, AA and NA has, you know, really, they're the ones that led the way in sponsors and, you know, people helping other people. But this peer support in mental health seems to have taken it at least to another level where people are trained, like you were talking about. And so it's provided, I mean, we want to meet people where they are in their recovery, so there's different opportunities. You know, a 90-minute presentation for some people would be so overwhelming. But being a peer support, we have, or actually across the state of Kentucky, we have peer clubhouses where in Lexington, NAMI actually facilitates participation station.
Yes.
In Northern Kentucky, we have the PEER, which is a collaborative effort between North Key Community Care, NAMI, and Mental Health America. But it's a building run by people with mental illness and substance use, helping other people. They have all kinds of classes and workshops going on. A good portion of those are all evidence-based practice workshops, the WRAP, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, and then they have rec nights, you know, where they can hang out. Some people go in and just sit on the couch, and it takes them a while to integrate. But it's people helping people.
Yes, and that makes sense, especially with mental health, or really, as you say, any illness. It makes sense that you would take stock in what someone who's already been there says.
Exactly.
Right. They've lived the life, they are living the life. And if the idea of inspiration, if they can do better, I can too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, we'll be right back, and we're going to move on to talking about 10 evidence-based ways to stay well and recover from mental illness and substance use, or just stay healthy as a general population person.
Yes.
Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hi, welcome to Guide to Feeling Better. We're back talking about building resiliency, staying well, recovering, and we were just talking about some evidence-based ways to flourish, and now we're going to talk about some 10 evidence-based ways to build resiliency. So I guess let me just read through the 10.
Okay.
So everybody knows what we're going to talk about. Number 1, talk with friends and family. Number 2, exercise. Number 3, get enough sleep. Number 4, practice faith, spiritual beliefs, and meditation. Number 5, do enjoyable and satisfying things. Number 6, improve diet. We can talk about that a long time. Number 7, get involved in the community. Number 8, change responses to stressful situations. Number 9, seek professional help when needed. And number 10, maintain a positive attitude.
Yes.
So let's go back and talk about each one of those a little bit.
Okay.
Talk to friends and family. I've experienced that myself in times of trouble. Having 1 or 2 people in your life that you can be totally honest with, that don't just dismiss, oh, you'll be fine,
Yes.
or oh no, do it this way.
I think that's important that everyone has, like you say, 1 or 2 people that you can really talk to, confide in, can trust them with the information that you give them, but also that you have someone to talk to in a non-judgmental way. Because if we're opening up our hearts and our minds, we don't want someone coming back at us with a negative judgment on our part. It'll, I think, cause us to close up.
Yeah, so in each one of these items, I think we could spend probably 2 to 6 sessions with a therapist, right? I mean, but it's about building skills.
Yes.
I've talked to a lot of people over the years, and just recently somebody that was disappointed in something that, this is somebody in recovery, but disappointed in somebody that was a friend. And I said, well, is that person really your friend? How do you define friendship? And, they were putting a lot of weight into an acquaintance, not really somebody that they trusted or, was a positive person in their life. They were spending too much time investing in an unhealthy relationship.
Right. I think it's important when it comes to mental health issues, because there is still so much stigma out there. You have to have the confidence that what you reveal, either to a person or to a group, is going to remain confidential. With NAMI, I think people get a lot from our support groups for that reason. And although somebody may start out coming to a support group and be very nervous, not sure what I'm getting into, that kind of thing, once you're there and you meet other people who are in the same boat, these folks often become friends, and you know that you learn that it's okay to open up and reveal part of yourself, because you're sitting across the table from someone who's been there or who's maybe going through that at the same point. Also in our classes, yes, our classes are meant to educate, and they do, but especially as time goes on, people begin to feel comfortable not only with the teachers, we always have 2 teachers, 2 facilitators, but they begin to warm up to the other people who are in the class with them, because again, you wouldn't be in that class unless you needed to be or had a loved one going through mental illness and or substance abuse. And so you, as a teacher, you can see people relax and open up more. And very often they get knowledge and support, not just from the teachers, but from one another.
Exactly.
And there's a great comfort in knowing that someone else is going through what you're going through, or maybe they've already been through it, and look, they're doing okay. So there's a lot of information to be shared and a lot of support that goes back and forth. But it's critical that you feel comfortable.
All right, so number 2, exercise. So for the first, if we exercise today, for the next 2 or 3 days, our serotonin increases. So what I've seen over the years, or we've seen at Mental Health America, is that if somebody walks for 20 minutes in the morning and walks for 20 minutes in the evening, gym memberships are great and wonderful for a lot of people, but it seems that the walking is more, it doesn't take as much motivation to get to the gym. You don't have to necessarily change your clothes. But never walk with a negative person.
Right, you could even walk your dog.
Exactly.
I do that. I walk a dog twice a day, and now it's routine so that I have to because he's waiting.
Right.
But I always find that I feel better.
Absolutely.
By going outside. Even on a dull, dreary, rainy day, there's something about going in the outside air. I do feel better, and that becomes my thinking time.
Natural light on a hazy, cloudy day for 20 minutes is supposed to be enough to increase our serotonin. You know, sunglasses were made for pilots initially. I think most of us, like, I don't do this anymore. I hide my sunglasses, but a lot of people put on their sunglasses as soon as they go outside. And so I think, you know, making a conscious decision, do I want to feel better? Yeah, I want to feel better. I want to get enough light. I mean, you don't want to put your eyes in harm's way, but getting that natural light is really important.
Well, and I think too, I enjoy walking. Like I said, I enjoy getting outside, but I'm thinking of my son. Now, he's not a walker. It's a chore for him. But what he will choose to do, and it made me think of this, he'll go out if he's feeling particularly down. He'll say, I'm going to go out for a drive. And so he'll go out and he'll drive his car around. But he's got his music on and he's getting that natural light. He rarely wears sunglasses. But I think a large part of going out just driving is the natural light, spending some time with yourself.
Well, and that hits on knowing what enjoyable and satisfying things are for you, which I ask that in a lot of groups. You know, what do you do for fun? What do you that's healthy? And people don't really have to think about it. I mean, a lot of times we're just so into the daily grind that we forget to take the time to do enjoyable. But music.
Yes, we talk about that in terms of coping techniques. We try to teach folks that there are negative ways to react to things, to stress, for example. We all know what some of the negative things are, but we try to teach people to replace them with positive coping strategies. So instead of going for another drink, maybe, what do you really enjoy doing? So you have to find out what you enjoy doing and then pursue that. But there are so many positive things to do, and for so many people it is music. If I could just play my music.
Yeah, I call it avoiding the cupboard of choice. So, you know, when you're stressed, you know, what do you do instead of going to the refrigerator for the, you know, the beer, or the medicine cabinet for the whatever, the refrigerator for food, the freezer for the tub of ice cream? How many people have eaten a box of Girl Scout cookies all at once?
I
Not
try to keep it to half a box, yes. But yeah, and that's what we need to do, and we need to learn to do the positive things, and it's not just for those with mental health issues, it's for everybody. what can you do, as you say, instead of hitting that box of cookies? A lot of people, like say we talked about the exercise, if you can find some kind of exercise, whether it's the walking or the gym. Some people talk about the music and dancing. You know, if you're home alone, just start dancing.
Oh my gosh, you reminded me, Mary, the woman that runs Freedom from Fear nationally, she, I saw her one year at a conference and she said, she just looked great. And I said, Mary, what have you done? And she said, oh, I've just started dancing and singing and when I'm cleaning the house. And at least that was her explanation for why she looked so healthy. So little things can make a big difference. So anyhow, we're going to have to cut and be right back, and we'll talk more about some of the 10 evidence-based ways to promote mental wellness and build resiliency.
Growing up and separating from what's familiar to you can be scary. It can be even more difficult if you have a mental health challenge. You're trying to define yourself and your place in the world, which can be hard if you feel anxious or depressed. When one person reaches out to lend a hand, they can make all the difference. You could be the one to help them soar. Find out how you can help a young person with a mental health or substance abuse challenge. Visit samhsa.gov/children.
Welcome back to Guide to Feeling Better, and thanks for sticking with us. This will be our last segment, except for the news. Stay tuned for the news. So we were just talking about the 10 evidence-based ways to stay well and build resiliency. And the next item on the list is practice faith, spiritual beliefs, or meditation. And I don't know what you think, but I mean, I just have seen with people in recovery, just having a belief system. It doesn't matter what it is, but in times of despair, on a bad day, it just helps having some kind of belief system.
I agree. It doesn't have to be an organized religion, as you say, but if you have something that you can go to, that you believe in, is a stronger power. I believe meditation is very helpful for many people. I know studies have shown that for those who suffer with depression, they can get great benefits from practicing yoga.
Oh, yes.
And
one of our shows recently was a gentleman who started yoga studio not just, I mean, anybody's welcome, but primarily for people in recovery from substance use and mental illness. And it's like, what more could somebody say about yoga? But it's great.
Yes, I've never done that myself. I know my son has started going to some yoga classes, and he enjoys it.
Great.
Yeah, it's certainly a positive way to cope with stress. And I think anytime, as we said before, anytime you do something that's positive versus a negative way, it helps you to maintain good mental health and helps you to flourish.
So I'd like to spend we talked about enjoyable and satisfying things a little in the last segment, but improved diet. Paying attention to what you eat. I mean, now the Nutrition Council, they have a plate, and half of it should be fruits and vegetables, a quarter lean meats, and a quarter whole grains. But there's a audio tapes that you can get, or not tapes anymore, DVDs or CDs. But Stopping Depression and Anxiety by Lucinda Bassett. And I remember listening to those a couple times, and they talked about, you know, pay attention when you drink a glass of orange juice, it's probably, you know, the juice of 5 to 10 oranges. Well, that's going to do something totally different than the one orange that would be the healthier thing to choose. So I just remember that because it's like paying attention.
Well, I think, I mean, we all know that you should eat healthy. That makes sense. But I know a woman who's in recovery. She lives with bipolar illness, and it's been very severe in the past, but she has shared with me how being in recovery, a large part of what helps her is a healthy diet. And she's one of those where she's learned that she needs to get enough sleep and she needs to eat healthy. Medications have caused her to gain a lot of weight, and so the diet becomes important in that sense, who wants to gain a lot of weight. But she says that it's tremendous in terms of helping her feel better. She lives by herself, and so she says it starts at the grocery store. But she has learned to avoid fast food eating, and she's learned how to snack on healthy snacks. And she said it's made a tremendous difference in her life. It's helped her to be positive, and it's helped her to cope.
Well, and I know a lot of people, you know, as far as paying attention to allergies with people with disabilities.
Oh, yes.
So if you're feeling, you know, bad allergy-wise, well, if you're already feeling depressed, having allergies, so just again, paying attention, you know, are you gluten intolerant? Are you, you know, allergic to whatever you're eating? So you mentioned sleep, though, and actually that's one of the things that I would probably work on first is sleep, just because there's so many healthy things to that. But
and sleep is difficult for so
very
many
much.
people. Yes, it's easy to say get a good night's sleep.
But when you do, you feel so much better.
Yes, yes.
No matter how sick you are, you always feel better, or how healthy you are.
How many times do we say, oh, if I could just get a good night's sleep?
Yeah.
You know?
I guess let's end with talking about getting professional help. If the person with the is in the center, I think, you know, we look at having a healthy relationship with a psychiatrist.
Yes.
Being, you know, on the right medication, staying on the right ones if that's what you need.
Yes.
Finding a really good therapist, and we have over 60 volunteer therapists now that'll see people from 1 to 12 sessions for free. It's called our pro bono counseling program.
That's wonderful.
Isn't that neat?
That is really
and
wonderful.
then case managers, support groups like we talked about. And then that individual support, that peer support, you know, being with people that understand.
Yes.
So making sure that we get a little piece of that, each of those pies.
Yeah, it's so important to know when you've reached the point where you do need professional help, and and it is available, it is out there, and it is possible to feel better. It is possible to go into recovery and stay there, and there's a lot of support out there, as you say, both professionally and on.
And there's lots of good places to start. Our organization, Catholic Charities, that works on this production.
Yes. Yes, you can call any of those, call NAMI.
Lots of friendly people.
Yes.
Ready and willing.
Anxious to help you, yes.
So thanks for watching today, and we will be back with the news.
For those with mental or substance use disorders, what does recovery look like? It's a transformation. It's a supporting hand. It's new beginnings. When does recovery start? It starts when you ask for help and support. Join the Voices for Recovery. Speak up. Reach out.
For information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Vicki Byerly with Catholic Charities, reporting on your National Institute of Mental Health news. To keep current with research-based mental health and substance use news, link to the National Institute of Mental Health on the web, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. In national news, here's a question. How is your brain able to use past experiences to guide decision making? A few years ago, researchers from the National Institute of Health discovered in rats that awakened mental replay of past experiences is critical for learning and making informed choices. Now the team has discovered the key secret of underlying brain circuitry, including the unique system that encodes locations during inactive periods. In other news, intervention that can help prevent drug use and other unhealthy behaviors in young children was launched by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. The online guide offers research-based principles that affect a child's self-control and an overall mental health starting during pregnancy through 8 years of age. It recognizes that while substance use generally begins during the teen years, the research shows that biological, psychological, social, environmental roots begin even before birth. Marijuana use is common in the United States and is often associated with other substance use disorders, behavioral problems, and disability, and goes largely untreated, according to new studies conducted by the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. They found that 2.5% of adults, nearly 6 million people, experienced marijuana use in the past year. Do you work in downtown Cincinnati or want to just come out to Fountain Square for lunch? Well, mark your calendar for Friday, May 5th from 11:30 to 1:30 and join us for our B4 Stage 4 Fair on the Square. This event is in recognition of May being National Mental Health Month. Visit with over 40 mental health and substance use organizations, enjoy entertainment and free materials. Hope to see you there. For more information, contact Mental Health America at www.mhankyswoh.org or Catholic Charities at www.covingtoncharities.org. Thank you for watching. This has been your Guide to Feeling Better News.
Unless you've walked in their shoes, you would never know the overwhelming feelings of sadness, anxiety, and hopelessness that cause hundreds of students to take their own lives.
The number of students we lose to suicide every year would fill an entire high school.
We need to start the conversation about good mental health.
Help us reverse attitudes and save lives.
The life that you save might be your own or someone you love.
To learn more, go to attitudesinreverse.org.
Our Guide to Feeling Better shows attempt to dispel myths and misconceptions about the ways in which people can and do recover from mental health and substance use disorders. We hope that today we have provided you with valuable information on building resiliency. We hope that this information will benefit you and those whom you love. Early intervention is key to survival and recovery. We hope that you have grown today and that we've provided you with the necessary tools that can help save lives, perhaps even your own. For wellness checks, more practical information, and for topics that you would like us to address on future shows, please visit our website at guidetofeelingbetter.org.